Daenerys Targaryen had always believed the Iron Throne was her destiny. From the moment her brothers sold her to Khal Drogo, she dreamed of returning to Westeros not only to reclaim her family's throne but to build a new and better world. Every war, every loss, every dragon's breath was part of that single pursuit. She saw herself as the chosen one, the breaker of chains, the mother of dragons, the woman who would end tyranny. Yet while she was chasing destiny, another force was quietly shaping it from the shadows. In the cold north, Bran Stark was transforming into something beyond human. While Daenerys burned her way toward the throne, Bran watched, waited, and ensured that when the fire died, only he would remain. Bran's journey was subtle, almost invisible. After falling from the tower in Winterfell, he lost the ability to walk, but gained something far greater, the ability to see beyond time. When he became the three-eyed raven, his mind stopped belonging fully to himself. He no longer saw life as a series of choices, but as a web of moments leading to a single inevitable outcome. He watched the past, the present, and glimpses of the future until all boundaries blurred. It is this power, the ability to see every path, that gave Bran control over people who still believed they had free will. Daenerys was one of them. She thought she was rewriting fate, but in truth she was walking the path Bran allowed her to take. To understand how Daenerys never saw Bran's rise, one must look at the difference in how they viewed destiny. She saw destiny as conquest, something to be claimed. Bran saw it as pattern, something to be managed. Daenerys acted with fire and emotion, Bran acted with patience and calculation. She spoke loudly about breaking the wheel, while Bran simply waited for it to turn in his favor. Their conflict wasn't about right or wrong. It was about awareness. She could see the world only through her desires, but Bran could see beyond desire entirely. From the moment Daenerys landed in Westeros, events began aligning perfectly for Bran. Every victory of hers weakened the old powers of the realm, the Lannisters, the High Sparrow, Cersei's reign, yet every loss drove her closer to isolation and instability. It was as if the world was designed to let her clear the board, only for Bran to claim the empty seat at the end. When he revealed Jon's true parentage to Sam and encouraged the secret to spread, it was not compassion or honesty that guided him. It was strategy. He knew Daenerys' faith in love and loyalty would crumble once she learned that the man she loved had a stronger claim to the throne. Her emotional collapse would be the final stage in breaking the wheel, not through revolution, but through self-destruction. Daenerys could not see this because she did not understand Bran's nature. To her, power was something earned through sacrifice. To Bran, power was something inherited through knowledge. She believed in destiny shaped by will. He believed in destiny shaped by inevitability. That difference blinded her. When she looked at Bran, she saw only a crippled boy who spoke in riddles. She could not imagine that behind his calm eyes lay the mind of someone who had already watched her rise and fall countless times. Every decision she made, from burning Varys to attacking King's Landing, fit perfectly into Bran's silent design. When Daenerys said she wanted to break the wheel, she meant she wanted to destroy the cycle of dynasties fighting for power. But what she did not realize was that Bran's vision of the future required the same goal, only without her. Her revolution was emotional and bloody. His was quiet and permanent. By the time she sat on the throne in the ruined Red Keep, she had already lost everything that gave her strength: her friends, her advisors, her love, and her sanity. Bran didn't need to fight her. He simply allowed time and trauma to do the work. The moment she crossed the moral line at King's Landing, her death was sealed, and Bran's ascension became inevitable. Bran's stillness was often mistaken for innocence. He never expressed anger or joy, never offered clear opinions, never tried to lead. But that stillness was the very thing that made him powerful. While others were driven by emotion, Bran had none left. He didn't react, he observed. He didn't persuade, he positioned. Even his words to Jon, urging him to tell his secret, were not emotional appeals but precise moves on a chessboard. Daenerys, for all her dragons and armies, could never compete with that kind of power. She could burn cities, but Bran could bend outcomes. The difference was invisible but decisive. When King's Landing fell, the world saw Daenerys as the ultimate power. But from Bran's perspective, the board was already cleared. The destruction of the city ended the legitimacy of the Iron Throne itself. No one could rule the ashes. The moment Drogon melted the throne, it symbolically transferred power from bloodlines to ideas, and Bran represented the idea of knowledge over violence, logic over passion. Whether or not Bran influenced Drogon's action, the result served his purpose perfectly. The throne that Daenerys had spent her life chasing no longer existed. The only remaining seat of power was the one Bran would soon occupy. What makes Bran's rise more complex is that he never claimed to desire the throne. His indifference became his disguise. Daenerys saw herself as the chosen ruler because she wanted it. Bran became the chosen ruler because he did not. In a world weary of kings driven by greed, a boy who claimed to want nothing became the safest choice. But behind that mask of detachment lay quiet ambition. When Tyrion asked him to take the crown, Bran's answer, that he came all that way precisely for this, revealed everything. He had known this outcome all along. His acceptance wasn't surprise, it was fulfillment. Every life lost, every city burned, every dragon cry had led to this moment. Daenerys, for all her vision, never realized she was part of a story that Bran had already read. She believed she was changing history, but she was living inside it. Her faith in destiny blinded her to the manipulation of fate. The tragedy of her character is that she saw enemies everywhere except where they truly were, in time itself. Bran's power wasn't physical or political, it was existential. He controlled the narrative by seeing it whole. She fought within it, unable to step outside. In that sense, she never stood a chance. She fought for the throne in a game whose outcome was already written. One could argue that Bran didn't plot, in the human sense, that he simply allowed the flow of events he had already witnessed. But even passivity, when guided by knowledge, becomes a form of control. Bran didn't need to move pieces actively, he only needed to know when to let others move themselves. Daenerys' greatest weakness, her need for recognition and justice, made her predictable. She wanted to be loved, then feared, then obeyed. Bran wanted nothing, and in wanting nothing he gained everything. He became the opposite of her, emotionless where she was passionate, silent where she was loud, cold where she was burning. When her fire went out, his calm remained. The irony of Bran's kingship lies in Daenerys' own words. She once said she wanted to build a world where good people didn't have to choose between what was right and what was necessary. Yet that world could never exist through her rule, because her version of justice was personal. She burned to make things fair, but fairness cannot be achieved through flame. Bran's rule, though devoid of warmth, provided stability through detachment. He was the solution to the problem she represented. Her death did not end her dream, it purified it. The peaceful council that crowned Bran was the final stage of her revolution, only stripped of emotion and led by reason. She broke the wheel, and he sat in the stillness of its remains. There is also a symbolic dimension to Bran's ascension. Daenerys' dragons embodied chaos and freedom, ancient power reborn. Bran embodied memory and knowledge, the quiet counterforce of order. When fire met ice, the world balanced itself again. Her dragons ruled the skies, but Bran ruled time. Her power was immediate, his was eternal. She burned what she could see, he influenced what no one could. In that way, the story of Daenerys and Bran was never about rivalry but about succession, one power fading so another could rise. The fire cleared the field, the ice preserved what was left. When examining Bran's final rise, it's important to recognize how the show's ending reframed morality. Daenerys believed she was right until the very end. Her downfall came not from madness alone but from misreading the silence of those around her. Bran never warned her, never comforted her, never tried to change her course. He simply watched. His neutrality became her undoing. Had he spoken plainly, perhaps she would have seen what was coming. But that was never his intention. The three-eyed raven doesn't interfere. It guides by omission. And in guiding through silence, Bran ensured that Daenerys would burn out before she ever saw him as a threat. In a way, Bran's victory was the final paradox of the story. The boy who lost everything, his family, his body, his innocence, ended up ruling over those who fought and died for power. Daenerys, who conquered death and slavery, who carried the legacy of dragons and kings, ended her story as a casualty of her own dream. The fire that gave her strength consumed her completely. Bran's cold endurance outlasted her heat. The song of ice and fire ended not with harmony, but with one side quietly absorbing the other. It is tempting to see Bran's reign as peace, but the truth is colder. His calm is not joy, it is distance. The cost of his knowledge was empathy. Where Daenerys felt everything too deeply, Bran feels nothing at all. Yet that lack of emotion is precisely why he could rule when she could not. Daenerys' tragedy and Bran's triumph are two halves of the same design. Passion creating change, detachment maintaining it. She was the storm, he was the calm that followed. Without her destruction, his order could not exist. Without his order, her destruction would have meant nothing. All Hail King Bran the Broken was not a celebration of kindness or wisdom. It was the acknowledgement of inevitability. The wheel Daenerys wanted to destroy turned one last time, crushing her beneath it, and Bran was there to stand on its still axis. She saw only the visible throne, forged of swords and fire. He saw the invisible one, the throne of time and consequence. In the end, Daenerys never saw that her every victory was setting the stage for him. Her journey across continents, her wars, her dragons, and her sacrifices all cleared the way for a king who never lifted a weapon. Daenerys believed she was breaking history, but she became history. Bran, the boy who watched, became the one who remembered and ruled. The story of ice and fire was never about who deserved the throne. It was about who understood the world well enough to claim it without fighting. Daenerys thought destiny belonged to those who burned for it. Bran knew destiny belonged to those who waited for it. And when the flames went out, he was the only one left to sit in the quiet glow of their ashes. And so, in the end, the story wasn't about who fought hardest for the Iron Throne, but about who understood the game deeply enough to let others destroy themselves playing it. Daenerys believed she was changing destiny, but Bran was quietly shaping it all along. Her fire burned bright, but his calm endured. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe for more deep analysis from the world of Game of Thrones. Until next time, remember, in the Game of Thrones, not every victory comes from power. Sometimes, it comes from silence.